Rhythm and Soul Radio. I am Marco Nobles. We have our virtual studio open, and we've had a lot of special guests lately. And this gentleman is very special. He is uh, an award-winning songwriter, written over 600 songs for many artists that you know and love. But you probably know him best as member of the trailblazing, groundbreaking group Family Stand. Peter Lord is here in our virtual studio. What's happening, sir? How are you?
How you doing, sir? Happy to speak to you, my homemate from New York. All right.
Yes, yes, yes. You are based out in LA now. How long have you been out in LA?
Um, been out here for about 15 years. It actually be 16 years this month. Hard to believe, but
Right, right. Because I mean, we talk about folks know you best from the Family Stand, but you write songs for some of everybody on the planet, and you've been doing that for a while, and you all still get together, the Family Stand from time to time, but you're all scattered. Sandra St. Victor's overseas, B. Jeffrey Smith is here in New York, and you're in LA.
yeah. But yeah, with the internet and everything, it's like, and the minute we speak to each other, there's no time, there's no space or time. It's just like it's the same. So yeah, we're all over, but it's always family, and we when we get together.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it was also interesting. I mean, you guys are in many ways groundbreaking. From when we first heard Ghetto Heaven, and then the different albums, whether it's Connected or In a Thousand Years, etc. Um, but you've all had your own success. And you're about to release a debut single for the 4th of July, and a full debut album coming out. Now, first of all, the single is Boom. So, did you intentionally set it up to release on the 4th of July?
Well, yeah. After the fact, but it seemed like the timing. I mean, the initial intention was maybe earlier in the year, but as
Hmm.
we got into it and really set things up, it the time was going to move to later in the year, and then it just seemed like, oh, that'd be a good time to put it out, and I guess the subtextual meaning and stories involved with this song kind of aligned with that being the timing of coming out on July 4th, and the album August 29th.
Right, right. Um, Now, things happen always for a reason. So, I don't know if you've thought about this since it's just happened, but when you talk about the single is Boom, and given what we've heard about what's happening in the world, over the weekend with the this current president. I won't say who's president. He's somebody's president, but this current president,
This current office holder.
yeah,
Yeah.
his current office holder,
Yeah.
you know, you know, uh, engaging in airstrikes, on another country,
So you said war crimes. Oh, airstrikes. You
with
said airstrikes. Yes. Okay. I said,
exactly.
I'm controversial already. All right.
so is that does that is there any thought? I mean, you're probably so far down the road, but was there any thought
No,
about
absolutely. No,
this?
absolutely. I mean, not so much because of that, but all the poop we've seen coming, beforehand, and didn't take a profit to really see where we would be, in this kind of neo-fascist, era
Mhm.
that we're in. So I mean, the song "Boom," begins at first was tied this to this film and TV project. I was been working and still working on, and about on a personal level, people coming to a place where they reached the straw that kind of broke the camel's back in terms of uh, personally, and went to a place that they had to eventually recover from, either with their addictions or whatever, or their personal issues. um, but as I knew I was going to put this on the album, I realized it's so related to the state of mind of the country and where we are, and then the timing of putting it out just seemed to align. And then the things like you spoke to, the things that are happening. Sorry, the things that are happening right now. It just seemed like the universe is kind of unfortunately or unfortunately aligned with at least the release of the single and what its message. I don't like the word message. What its story is about. Yeah, the
Right.
message is what you get, but the story is the story. Yeah.
Right, right. Um, the full album you mentioned will be released on August 29th. Songs from the Eighth Dimension. Um, talk about talk about it taking this long for you to do a solo project. I mean, we talked about obviously you've been doing this for decades, and was it just so caught up in Family Stand and then writing songs for other people or
Actually, no, not at all. I mean, for the last 15 years, I moved out to Los Angeles to focus on writing for film and television projects as a screenwriter and filmmaker and developing content in different
mm,
projects. And there's been, and as I'm sure you know, a project can take 10 years or 5 years or 10
right.
years. And I have at least 8 that are all moving and about to be made, not be made. We have the money, we don't have the money. You know how that
Right.
goes. And so, in the midst of dealing with all those circumstances and challenges, sometimes drama, but the good and the good of it, uh,
Mm,
and at this point, and I hadn't been really focused on music per se in terms of music to put out commercially as an album or as a group or working with other artists. I decided that it would be a good time to put something out. It was almost at this point an oasis from the film and TV industry to do a music project
mm,
in which I had more control. As you know, um, you put out an album and you want to make some music. You don't need $1 billion and 1 million people to say yes and
right.
and improve. So it almost became, on a certain level, was self healing and therapy and oasis to do a music project. And as I heard Bill Withers, the great Bill Withers, say once upon a time that I think that I always missed the show off gene. So I loved creating and the artistic part of it, but not necessarily a performer or coming from an entertainer. Um, I, it was from that standpoint. So it was a matter of timing and where my headspace was at, and just reconnecting with music and wanted to create again. And I had some things that I'd been working on, but decided, okay, I can put this out and tighten this up. And I had been saving for some film and TV projects, but I was like, hey, it can be this also. So it was an opportunity to put it out and to do it.
Right, right. Rhythm and Soul Radio. Uh-huh.
No, I was gonna say, and also kind of reconnect to the legacy of things I've done, things the family stand has done, what I've done with Jeff and Sandra, and Jackie McGee,
Mm-hmm.
essentially Victor Jeff Smith and Jackie McGee at different times, and so just putting I was in the right headspace to do it. So that was it was a matter of the timing.
Right, right. It's Rhythm and Soul Radio. We have our virtual studio open. We're talking with Peter Lord. Many of us know him most from the Family Stand, but he's a award-winning songwriter, working on a number of film and TV projects that we've talked about. He has the brand new single, debut single, solo single, Boom, which will be available everywhere on July 4th, and then the full album, Songs from the Eighth Dimension, being released on August 29th. Um, when we were talking about Boom earlier, you and the serendipity of the timing of the release and what's going on in the world, and you were talking about the music, not necessarily the message that's in the music, but the story behind the music. Talk more about that, because that sounds like more of a process for you in terms of creating a story versus trying to impart a message as
Yeah,
you write songs.
yeah. I mean, my thought about that is the best message is get transferred or get told to people or to the world in the form of a story. If you try to preach or through messages, that personally turns me off, even though I might believe in the message. But I think there's a craft to telling a story in which the vibration or the energy you're trying to get across can be told. And I also just want to add on Boom. It is featuring another vocalist with me on it. Also co-wrote the track, Dee Dee Dion Gibson, or Dee Dee Dion. So I just want to give her a shout also. Um, um, but the story of, like I say, it was part of a project at first called Love Junkies, about
Mm-hmm.
people dealing with their addiction triggers. But what we're dealing right now, either within this country, or the addiction to power, to
Mm-hmm.
guns, to to money,
Mm-hmm.
to the power structure is addicted to its smelling itself, and all those, and all the warnings, and why what's this neo-fascism is going on in the world will not work ultimately, because even more so in the past, even though uh, too many people have been asleep at the wheel to allow it to get to this point, the important thing, the thing is that people are aware. There's too many people aware. There's too many holes in the dam to now close with social media and people like yourself, alternative media or different media that just not
Mm-hmm.
mainstream voices. Your voice, Marco, can get through, and my voice can get through, even if we're not on NBC, CBS, or ABC that particular week, or CNN,
Right.
whatever. So that's the opportunity that we have, to be openly subversive.
Right, right. And as you talk about that, I mean, when you were talking, and I immediately thought it's like Family Stand. That's been since 1990 or
But we had an
1991.
album, but we had an album, um, originally called Yvonne Jeffries in the Stand, which was my bad idea at the time. But before we became the Family Stand, but 1990, uh, really, I mean, that single actually came at the end of '89, but it's really 1990, from the Chain album, was kind of released.
Right, and I thought as you talk about the opportunities for messages to get out now is looking at the differences from when you started to
Yes.
where we are now.
Hmm.
It's a whole different structure. Just even the way you talk about going out to LA to work in film and TV. I'm sure it's drastically different now from when you first went out there. So the landscape changes, as does the landscape of this country change, and
Yes.
how we consume information, how we consume music, how we relate to music, and I guess how you then tell your stories through music and writing songs.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And there's been and since then, whether it's my film and TV projects that I'm writing, and creating content for, writing songs, my message at the same time, though it's changed form, and I've never stayed stuck. There's a consistency, I think, to the stories I tell, and the vibrations, or the the issues I resonate to, and that's why, to a certain extent, I think I say to people now, if I was 18 and 19, I don't know, I would be an artist or a musician. I might be an astrophysicist or getting something
Mm,
like that. And so a lot of things interest me, that regarding metaphysics or physics or astronomy, and the ideas of different dimensions. So that's why the type of songs from the eighth dimension, also in a subtextual way, is behind all the songs, in terms of seeing the deeper layers or meaning of this obvious, which has always been what I suppose. Maybe I've always written songs from the eighth dimension, so maybe that's why some people got it and some people didn't get it, But
right.
as the great philosopher Popeye said, "I am who I am," and keep away my age. Popeye, who's that? Popeye. I mean, my grandfather told
I
me about Popeye.
I was thinking about Popeye the other day, so I'm glad you mentioned that because
Okay.
and I'm also glad you mentioned the female vocalist that's with you on Boom, your single that'll be released July 4th. Dee Dee, you mentioned her
DD
name is
Dion, yes.
Dee Dee Dion,
Yeah.
because I definitely wanted to ask you about her, and finding the right voice, finding the right persons to work with, particularly as you are putting together your own music, and in this case, this first single. You know, I just her voice fits very well within the song, and it just seems very seamless. Was it a process, or was she somebody you were already working
Oh, well,
with, or?
we've been friends for years, and actually, we were working together on that Love Junkies project,
Mm.
TV series, but we still will get made. Uh, uh, but it's because it's a TV musical project, but
Mm.
but when I say musical, we're talking about some alternative, different stuff, So
Okay,
uh,
okay,
taking it to the 21st century musical, a lot of people have been saying they're going to write, but they haven't written. But anyway, several of the songs or arose in terms of initial demos, and Dee Dee was part of the process, the project at first, and when we were working the series, and so she was on the original demo with me, and I always loved her voice on it, and she's a great singer and artist in her own right. And we'd worked together some years before, so we had that. I had that basis of the track, but then um, I remixed it and had been fiddling with it and redid it, and but loved her vocal on it and kept it on there, and I added some things and changed it up. But that's how she got involved with the project, and and she's a co-writer on the song also.
nice.
But yeah, she's just a great singer and artist in her own right. But mostly she's been out here acting in recent years in Los Angeles. DDD on
Okay.
hmm
Excellent, excellent. Again, the full album coming August 29th, Songs from the Eighth Dimension. Any other stories from the album that you wish to kind of give us a sneak peek of, so we can
Well,
get our appetite whetted for it?
it's my usual eclectic mixture, so beyond categorization, but eclectic, telling stories like rock, soul, alternative. The other songs about um, but about love, relationships, dealing the evolution of each of us as people, dealing with our issues and our addictions and those dopamine, those cheap dopamine needs we have, whether it's us personally or the society.
Mm,
But looking at it in some way below the surface. It's always in everything I've written. I think I've always just have a naturally inclination um, to want to tell stories that can be taken. They can be taken on the surface level, or it can be taken on
mhm,
the multiple, levels in which I mean them to, or they happen to have that meaning, whether I know it or not. In my own
mhm.
subconscious might, oh, was I really thinking that? Oh, I guess I was. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
hmm
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Again, it's Rhythm and Soul Radio. Excuse me. We've been talking with Peter Lord. He has the brand new single "Boom," who will be released on the 4th of July. The full album is coming on August 29th. Songs from the Eighth Dimension, and I'm assuming people will be able to get it anywhere they stream their music or download their music.
Absolutely. And we got have some real cool video content coming with it also. There will be with this content director named Rio. I'm really excited about. We're in the process of working on, and uh, the next possibly the next single, or as of now might be called "Go" after "Boom," but we'll focus on "Boom." But there's 5 songs, in there, uh,
Okay.
and "Go" and what goes happens to be up tempo. Then there's a ballad, there's a rock track, and a like a cool kind of alternative focus type of soulful song in there. I did with this singer writer named Tara Naomi, who's another great singer and writer and artist. Um, but yeah, that's the vibe, multi-layered, but beats.
Excellent.
Fun
Excellent.
with
Well,
the deepness with the fun.
yes, love the alternative.
Yeah,
We definitely love
that's
the
the
alternative
alternative.
vibe.
Okay.
You know, definitely
Alternative
got to
soul.
have that.
Yeah, exactly.
Alternative soul, exactly. Peter Lloyd, we thank you for joining us and taking the time. Um, Social media you want to share so people can follow you and all that good stuff?
I'm on IG, and I keep it simple. Instagram, and Threads, but basically Instagram. They can see a lot of the teasers and the promos and the reels and the et cetera, et cetera. But I'm there as Peter Lord or Peter Lord Moreland um, on IG, so you'll get that information there. Mhm.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure. Certainly look forward to talking to you again. Maybe closer to when the album comes out, we can come back and talk a little bit more.
Sounds good. I'm open. Open. We'll talk about the all five singles. No, four to
Yeah.
five. Okay.
Here we go.
All
It's
right.
Rhythm and Soul Radio. We've been speaking
Thank
with
you.
Peter Lord. Thank you, man. We really appreciate it. And make sure you check out the single Boom coming July 4th. And you can check it out right now, right here on Rhythm and Soul Radio.